Hello, beautiful souls. As you probably know, we are in the midst of a huge transformation in terms of human consciousness right now. So much is happening, and I'm just feeling inspired to share some messages that have come through for me, some insights through art and also through my journal that have helped me to understand what may be going on right now. And I'm hoping they will help you as well. So at the time that I'm recording this, we've just come through this really, really intense equinox season that's been sandwiched between two eclipses. And there's so much about that. If you follow astrology at all, you're probably aware that there's like multi-thousand year cycles ending and beginning at this time. There's even some compelling evidence that some people are putting out there that this may actually be the end of Kali Yuga, which is the kind of the dark age. Now there's a lot of controversy around that. I'm not going to weigh in on one side or another, but I feel like it does resonate with me intuitively with some of the messaging that I'm getting. And that's what I want to share today. And I will link a couple links below to some of this information so you can read and decide for yourself how you feel about that. But what I wanted to share was just my own intuitive understanding of where we're at right now in the world. And by right now, I mean, in the little picture, yes, right now in April 2025, but also I think the events that are happening right now are so great that we can also look at the bigger window of this whole decade. Um, so if you're catching this later, that's it's still going to be relevant to you. Okay. So I have a new painting here that speaks to this time. I'll be explaining this in a moment. First, I want to share a little bit that came through for me in my journal about this period that we're entering into right now. Um, and so when I was feeling into the equinox gateway and the eclipses, I got this image of the equinox being a gateway, right? Or rather like the mouth of a river where it empties into the sea. Okay. And what I'm told is that the human experience is about to change dramatically. You know, this is a good, pardon the pun, it's a sea change, right? It's about to change dramatically from a dynamic, more like a river, which is linear, narrow, and directed in one direction, into one that more resembles the ocean. Okay, so vast, flowing in cycles and rhythms rather than in a line, and far deeper and with a lot more variation in expression, right? So what I'm getting is that this year in 2025 in particular is represents this shift from the much more linear way of being or experiencing life into this more vast, opened up oceanic experience. Okay. And for some people, this is going to feel challenging, right? Because when we're in a river, we know what direction it's going, right? It's got limits, it's got boundaries. Yeah, there's some up and down and back and forth, but really pretty much we're all going in one direction. But when we're out in the ocean, there's a lot more expansiveness. We can go out there and really kind of we have to decide. We have to really have an idea of where we want to go, or we could just end up floating, which might be all right too. But there's so many more possibilities and so many more choices, right, that are opening up for us. Okay. So, what I'm told is that it's not harder to navigate in the ocean than a river, but it's different. Okay. And so for some people, it may take some adjustment to shift from this unidirectional way of being, the river rafting, into more of a seafaring way of expressing oneself and being in the world. Okay. So for some people during this shift, and again, this may pertain to just this little narrow time, but I'm thinking the next few years, even maybe even the next few decades. Okay. Some people may end up feeling very lost at sea. Okay. Others are going to find this really liberating. Okay. So it's sort of like the dolphins and the whales long ago upon their physical return from the land to the sea. They were land animals. They went back into the sea. And for them, it was super liberating, right? But for others, like coming into the sea would be just really disorienting. Okay. So remember that navigation at sea is different than that river kind of navigation. Okay. It has always had its basis in the stars and in the winds, right? As well as the tides and the influence of the moon. Well, river navigation is really more a knowledge of the earth, more so than an air. So right away, I'm feeling like this shift in terms of some of the primary elements that we may need to anchor to, okay? Up until now in human existence on the planet, as long as we can even remember, all our ancestors, being grounded, being connected to the earth has been super, super important. Okay. Now it's feeling like the air, the stars, the ether, that's going to be much more in play. And we're going to need to adjust to that, both physically, mentally, and spiritually. Okay. So the message is you must not be afraid to be ungrounded. Okay. Or rather, we still need to be grounded, but our sense of grounding may need to shift. Okay. So the grounding of a mariner, of a seafarer, is his connection to the stars, right? If you're losing connection with the earth, you need to connect to the stars. Okay. Um, and I'm told that we are children both of the stars and of Mother Earth, okay? And because the Earth herself right now is undergoing a massive and very rapid change, the change we are experiencing is part and parcel of the change that the Earth herself is experiencing. She is a being, okay? We are part of her, just like our cells are a part of us, okay? And so to help her through this and to help ourselves through this, okay, we can and still should ground ourselves to earth. But remember, we want to ground to the ascending earth, right? Ground to the ascended consciousness of earth, not the old earth. But that grounding is still really important. That's going to give us strength, right? It's going to help us stay in our physical bodies, which we need to do at this time. But that's not going to be enough anymore. All right. So because the earth is unstable right now, yes, we need to ground to her, but in part that's going to help to stabilize the earth, right? It's not just stabilizing to ourselves. This act of grounding is now also helping the earth herself. But the other and the steadier direction that we're going to need to be anchoring to is the stars. All right. So anchor yourself to the stars in your mind and in your heart, right? And sense the stability that is there. Okay, know that we are tethered to the stars and that this connection can help you stabilize and see and think clearly. Okay, it doesn't mean we don't ground to the earth, but we want to also be grounding to the stars. Right? Why? Because it's going to help the entire earth to stabilize during this time of huge upheaval and tumult and everything else chaotic, stuff that's going on. Right. So I did ask, well, what are some practical ways we can actually anchor to the stars? This is something new to me. It may be new to you as well, maybe not. And if not, put a comment down below. I'd love to hear your experience. But I was told to hold the stars in your mind as energetic beings. Okay. And I was told that the specifics of this are less important than your will and desire to connect, okay? That the stars will present themselves to you as you're best able to perceive them, right? So for some, you just may kind of visualize the stars in your mind or go outside and stargaze, literally stargaze. And that may really just help you to feel much more grounded and stabilized. Um, and you may feel a certain gravitational pull from the star body that will help you to feel grounded, okay? But for other people, it might be more in the form of connecting to star beings or star guides, okay? And having conversations and so forth like that. So however it works for you is the right way for you, okay? Don't feel like you're doing it wrong because it's not like what somebody else does. Don't concern yourself too much with the how. What's really important is your awareness of your connection with the stars, okay? And just using that awareness to cultivate a vibration of stability, okay? An open receptivity within your being, okay? So we can even imagine things like having a beautiful silver cord first connecting us to the heart of earth and then sending sending out silver cords to stars, maybe straight above or on the horizon or even on the other side of the earth, and feel those silver cords connecting to those stars. You may have specific stars that you feel really connected with, and feel that these cords are anchors and you can feel yourself stabilizing. Okay, that's just one little meditation you can do. All right, so that is one thing that I wanted to share was just this whole concept of the way that consciousness is shifting and how we're going to need to adapt to that. All right, so next, let's take a look at this painting because this has a lot to say about this time as well. All right, and then I'm going to end with a couple excerpts from my journal that came through that I think may be helpful as well. All right, so this painting, I started way, way back in 2014. This was at the very, very beginning of just like, I was just about to really start having this big awakening experience. I've always loved this painting because it always felt to me like really powerful. There was something about the way she's looking and all the creatures in here that really just caught my sense of, oh, wow, there's something really here. But I couldn't, like for years and years, I couldn't quite figure it out. This painting has been like 11 years in the making because of that, and there was enough that felt powerful to me that I could only work on it for a little bit at a time. Then I would have to put it away, and it always felt like, well, it's not time yet, it's not time yet, it's not time yet. All right, so just a couple days ago, I was given the opportunity um, to have an art show in a local venue, and was digging through my pieces, came upon this, and it was like she was like, "It's time." So I pulled her out, and I just finished her. The title that's been in my mind for years, that's come in for this one, has been Warning. Okay, Warning, and it always felt like this beautiful female figure, which I didn't know who it was for the longest time, was issuing a warning. She's got her finger up to her lips. She's kind of looking at you from sideways, and she's almost like she's looking at this big landscape. What's going on in here? There's four snakes. All right, and these are the four general types of venomous snakes in North America. Okay, so these are North American animals. There's a peregrine falcon on her shoulder. There are turkey vultures. There is a rattlesnake, a coral snake, a copperhead, and a water moccasin. And what really has come to me over the years is that these are representing the four directions somehow, and that it is talking about this vast landscape. It's talking about the world, and especially there's some significance to North America here. Especially. And you can see there's a little tornado forming here. There's some really kind of very powerful things happening in the skies. It's talking about some kind of upheaval. We've got the snake going down the river. The river, it feels like really significant. It's coming right from the foreground all the way to the very end. You get the feeling that it is emptying into the sea way back here. Okay. So, and that's part of maybe why this is time for this to come forward. But for the longest time, I had no idea who this was. And this time when I picked it up, it's like, oh my God, it's Isis. And I think it's the falcon on the shoulder. And I actually looked it up, and she does have a pretty strong connection with vultures. There are depictions of Isis with a vulture headdress on, and the vulture, very like Isis, is an Egyptian mythology associated with motherhood, okay, with the divine feminine and with protection. And Isis, by the way, is often seen as a personification of nature and the powers of nature and the fertility of nature, and that a beautiful divine feminine continuity of life on earth, right? But it's also, anytime you're dealing with divine feminine, you're also dealing with the earth herself, with the physical embodiment, with the body itself, all right? And so she's issuing a warning. She's kind of almost gesturing towards all the stuff, the chaos, the tornadoes, the oppressive sky, right? By the way, Isis was a goddess of the Nile, which is a great river like this one. I think this is more like the Mississippi, but also of the sky. And so she's talking about purification here, okay? This is a time of purification that we're entering. And if you watched my video on the year of the snake, okay, you'll see also the representation of the snake. I really encourage you to go back and watch that or rewatch it if you've already seen it, because a lot of what's happening here is what right now we just entered into a new astrological year. So we're really moving into the energies of this year of 2025, which is this portal year, right? Of everything changing. And so going back to this river idea of moving from the river into the sea, it's a journey and it's going to be a little different for everybody, right? Depending on where you are in the river. When we think about how a river empties into the ocean, a lot of times it'll carry a plume of debris with it that you can see from the air, from space, right? It brings nourishment into the ocean. So this isn't, something bad, but it also will bring a lot of debris that the ocean needs to clear up, to purify, okay? Um, and so we've got these symbols of purification all over the place. Vultures are a beautiful symbol of purification in many, many cultures. They're regarded because they eat the dead things and they bring them up to the sky, right? So it is an act of clearing, of purification. And you can see this vulture has the sun disk right in it, okay? And then the snakes also, even though they're venomous, a snake is an incredibly powerful representation of transformation, of regeneration, and of resurrection, right? Because they shed the skin. Um, but there's also this idea that snakes is really tricky, dual, kind of very heavy shadow side as well, right? So she's warning us about um, uh, that there's a purification, a period of purification coming up, right? And if this is the end of Kali Yuga, it is said that there will be a 300-year period of transition between the end of Kali Yuga and the beginning of the next Yuga cycle, right? So that's part, I think, of what is being indicated here. That we are entering a period of transition and that will be a period of purification. Okay, a couple things happening during this period is the purification is one, shedding everything that was of the old, and that's going to be especially true for the next decade. It's going to be probably an extremely intense time of change. This year, 2025, you may find at some point that it'll be suddenly like we are in a whole different universe. A lot of us may feel that already starting in this year. But think about if you're going down the river and going into the sea, some people might feel like they're still part of the river, even when they're quite far out in the sea, depending on how the tide turns for you where you are. Others may feel this like you may feel already that you've entered this ocean, kind of, less restrictive and more open kind of way of being. Um, we're going to see changes on every level. So I won't get too into that. I think I went into more of that in the Year of the Snake video. So again, look for that. But I think what she's warning especially about, okay, because it is Isis, it is nature, right? And she's pointing to this idea of purification and toxins and venom. All right. What I'm taking from this is that it's going to be extremely, extremely crucial that we mind our relationship to nature, okay? And that includes our relationship to our bodies, it includes our relationship to the environment, and how we are interacting with the environment as a whole, not just individual animals or plants, but really stepping out, taking the great big picture, right? The big landscape, and beginning to understand how our actions affect things, right? Because we can make choices that seem like the right choice. They may seem like the ethical choice in the little picture, but sometimes when you step out and look at the really big picture, which I think she's asking us to do, this is a vast landscape here, things can change and shift. And I think that relates to this shift between the narrow banks of the river and into the vast ocean, is that we're going to be dealing more with the big picture, right? And coming to terms with some of the ways that we've been approaching life that aren't going to be working anymore. Again, thinking about that shift from more like if you're navigating a river, you can take a pole and you can be hitting the ground with that kind of the earth sort of centered, and you can't do that in the ocean, right? So we're going to be, again, needing to connect to the stars, to the ether, to that air element, and to our intuition much, much more going forward, right? The water element being opened up and also amplified, right? Because when you think about salt water, it's got all those electrolytes and things that carry um, impulses, right? It's going to be much easier for those impulses to be felt. You may feel this already. It's going to be, I think, much more obvious to the average person when there are shifts in energy, okay? It's going to be like people are going to feel it more and more and more. And so that's why we have to be so careful of our our bodies and being aware of impurities in the body, impurities that are in the environment, and there's so much, right? We need to be hyper aware of that, which is reminding me of like she looks like almost like Virgo, right? And some of those Virgo ideals of hygiene and clearing and taking care of the body are going to be really, really important as we move forward through this juncture. All right. So, by the way, if I always love to hear other people's insights when they look at my art or hear the messages that have come through. Trust your own intuition, right? And I would love if you get any insights from this, that you put it in the comment below because it's going to help other people as well. All right. And it'll help me out as well. Okay, so just a couple more things that I wanted to share with you that as I was leafing through my journal this morning, really popped out as something that wanted to be shared right now. One is it's kind of talking about the system, right? And I think what this is talking about is the energies that want to keep us down in the old earth, the more dense frequencies, and want to kind of um, hinder the flow of life. Okay, so here it's referred to as the system, and it says the system plays on emotions. It creates narratives based on emotions that generally create discord, hatred, enmity, sadness, grief, depression, hopelessness, all those feelings. Okay, you can't fight fire with fire. Okay, so this is even though it's working with emotions, that's that water element, it's kind of using all the stuff to try to keep us muddied in there, all right, and heating up those emotions and making them kind of hard to deal with. Okay, can't fight fire with fire, all right? What you focus on persists. So if you're focusing on things that trigger you, if you're allowing that to distract you and bring your focus there, it's not going to help at all. Okay, that's going to kind of almost like a river backing up, and it's going to just create issues. But the other message is this, and I'm just going to read it word for word. Okay, trust your own rhythm. The cycles are being recalibrated right now. This is a period of dissolution and reconstruction. False timelines are being dismantled. Things may seem chaotic for a while. It is imperative that you listen within, find your own pulse, discover your own internal rhythms, and learn to dance with the beat of your own drum, your heart pulse. Okay? In time, this will resynchronize with the pulse of the universe. The rhythms of self and earth and cosmos will feel more aligned. For now, though, it is an invitation to play and to observe. follow your own path in the dance and be well, right? So I think that's part of what it feels, what it is to be anchored to the stars, right? That we can anchor to something greater and bigger than this earth. So much is happening on earth that wants to distract us. And what's going to be super important moving forward is finding that truth within and really focusing on that, right? Again, if you're focusing on things that trigger you and distract you into high emotions, it's going to pull you away from your own internal compass, your internal peace profound, right? That is there for each of us. When we anchor into that, anchoring to the stars can help with that, right? Then we're anchoring into the heart, and that will help to anchor and stabilize the earth as a whole. All right. So, so much here. Sometimes it's really helpful to get together with other people who kind of think in this way. I want to invite you to my Lightworkers Cafe gatherings. They are twice a month. It's absolutely free. You just sign up for my email list and you will get invitations every month. This month we're going to have on the 6th, we're going to have an oracle party. So we're going to just draw cards for each other as a group. It's really fun. We've done this quite a few times. It's always wonderful. We get great insights and great connection too with other souls. And then on the 20th, on Easter Sunday, we're going to have a metaphysical Easter, a guided meditation gathering, really tap into those energies of resurrection. And we're going to be looking at some of the deep meanings of Easter that are universal, not just Christian, but the universal message behind the Easter story. And I think that's going to be a beautiful celebration as well. So you're invited to that. And if you are in the Marquette, Michigan area, I'd love to see you at my show. I'm going to be posting sometime soon. This is at Superior Culture in Marquette, and I'm going to have this painting along with quite a few others up there. So if you're in the Marquette area, please join me live. And remember, you were born to be free.